Waiting on Cody. Waiting on Cody.
Wait on Cody for what? Oh, we're live. Gonna tell
We are
people.
live. Oh man, just like a UFC bout, this will be a good one too. All right, so what's up, Facebook? We're live here wherever we're streaming. Go ahead and drop me a hashtag live, hashtag replay. We got another student spotlight here. This will be a good one. If you guys pay attention, I want you guys to take some notes if you can. It'll be super helpful. Because if you're stuck somewhere, this will probably help you get unstuck from something that you hear. We'll drop some golden nuggets along the way. Jacob's going to be on for the ride to teach us what he's been doing and share and spill some of the beans of what he's learned from us that you guys may be able to apply to your business. And in case you don't know who we are, my name's Rahul. That's Cody over there. We run the GSD program. It's a mentorship mastermind for coaches and online consultants, digital marketers, all alike. We help people start and scale the business with blueprints and frameworks. We're not a big fan of guesswork and hard work. We just like blueprints and frameworks. That's how we're able to scale. We create simplistic processes so anybody can do this. You don't need a ton of skill per se. You need a lot of determination and the right path to go down so you don't go down the wrong path. With that being said, welcome, Jacob. Thanks for hopping on here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it looks good. But I mean, good thing you're not on the mountains, so the reception will be good. Every time we see Jacob, he's like got skiing going on or he's doing something fun, so he can live his lifestyle. So Jacob, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about what you do?
Yeah, essentially, I managed to fail forward into an agency space. We started off just as pure social media marketing back in the day, and pretty quickly found out that that was lacking. And, fortunately, the tools, the systems, and most importantly for me, the mentorship has come along in such a way that you can provide a lot more services to a business and solve kind of all the problems that they have instead of just being one spoke on their wheel and not being able to, take care of the rest of the stuff that happens and quite frequently fails, to be honest.
Awesome. So, like, what services are you offering to your clients now?
Yeah. So, from all the way from, hey, we'll just get you leads on social media. And that at that time, it was just cobbled together systems and primarily organic. What we offer now is essentially a done for you 6-figure business in a box, right? Where you guys have taught me to kind of learn the skills to put the tech together and make things useful. That's what we do for our clients. We don't teach them, we just get it done on their behalf. And so we're filling a much smaller niche because, as you know, a lot of businesses out there are just teaching kind of one single skill set at a time and not delivering a business. They're just delivering a like one of the 10 things you need to have a business.
Well, and like just going backwards really quick, like when, I mean, I know it's been a while since we've been working together. Like, how did you come across us to begin with?
Yeah, honestly, I took a lot of calls, and like by a lot, I mean both out of curiosity and just to kind of figure out what's going on in the market. I would click on one or two of the ads that came up into my feed on a regular basis. And while I was going through a cycle like that, and actually during a big transition point in my life too, I was leaving Vancouver after being there for like 17 or 18 years and not knowing where I was going yet in terms of moving, not really knowing where I was going yet in terms of my business. I was just doing a ton of research. And honestly, it was not really the first call or the second call. It was that third call where I ended up speaking to you, to the actual owner of the business, because as you're well aware, a lot of the stuff out there has whoever's name is on the door up on a pedestal, and you may never even actually come into contact with them. So
So when
that's
you
what brought me
were
in.
when you were going and clicking on ads and searching around for people and mentorship, like what about us stood out to you?
One of the main things was inside of the conversations, it was that I was actually getting involved with something that was comprehensive and dealing with the business owners versus purchasing a system that they'd set up and being sold to by a team, right? And like I don't have anything against that. I think a well-designed business has all those components and SOPs and all that kind of stuff. But again, like I get to hang out with you guys. I get to talk to you guys. I get to ask you guys questions. And you aren't these people who've kind of retired behind a photo, right? With that thing that's on the wall behind Cody being like, I made it and now buy my cookie cutter and moving on, right? There's a big difference out there. That's what I felt. It was really tangible.
Got it. So like dealing with the people who created the systems was important to you.
And operate them on a daily basis, like actually do the work.
Got it. And then how long have you been with us in the GSD?
It's been a couple of years now. I think if we go all the way to September, October, that'll be my third year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember our conversation. I was on the road traveling and I was outside of a Islands restaurant waiting for somebody. And that's when you and I were speaking, and that's when we finally kind of decided to move forward. So I do distinctly remember our conversation because you talked to Ben on my team, Will on my team, then me finally on the team, and you and I had a bunch of conversations around it. So no, it's exciting to have you in here for that long. I mean, 3 years coming up, that's incredible. Now,
It's
how has that
been,
had an impact on the business, do you think?
yeah, I mean, with my background, like I've been in business for myself for a long time,
Mhm.
not as an agency owner, but as some sort of self-employed, usually an entrepreneur. And I started saying a long time ago that really what I do is build systems for a living. And you know, there's this piece about buying systems that have already been tested, trialed, and set up. That already made sense to me. And then with the background that I have with my like, clinical rehab and that business, which is now over 20 years old, it still runs. It was the fact that I was getting a mentorship as well. And all of my training and background in that stuff came through apprenticeship. Like I went and worked with the people who actually taught, came up with the methods, or named the stuff that they were doing, to be honest. And so again, to be close to the people who are doing that is the thing that I was searching for.
Now, I know you're working on some bigger deals. Like, are you using like a flywheel approach, or how are you attracting and getting in front of these larger deals that you've been hustling on, taking deposits on and closing?
Yeah, you know, the hustle is really the big part. Like I've continuously worked my network for the last few years. And you know, if we're just fast forward and say it's been 3 years, year one was actually understanding the systems and putting systems in place. Year two was kind of looking at optimizing for delivery and being like, okay, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is how we can do it reliably. And I knew I was kind of hitting that mark because in B2C conversations, you know, you get a wide range of people. Some people like literally don't understand what you're saying because they don't have the business acumen or the experience. And then some people kind of catch a glimmer of it, but a lot of them, even in my own consulting calls, they're kind of lost because they're being pulled in like 8 different directions. I saw this in the healthcare space too. A client would come to see me, and their multiple practitioners that they were seeing, they're kind of being drawn and quartered, right? And it wasn't intentional. The Acu and the Cairo weren't like, I'm going to work against that person. It's just they weren't all heading in the same direction. So I meet these people in that situation and they seem confused or cluttered. When I got into B2B conversations and was able to just map out, like, this is how we do it, this is what we do, this is when we're going to do it. I had a meeting with this guy that has signed a significant contract, like a year-long commitment, and I'm in for shares after that. And he turned to me at the end of that meeting at the cafe, and he's just like, I can sell this shit all day long. So it shows me that you guys gave me systems, the processes, and the acumen to say, look, this is it, and it delivers.
I love that last part that you're saying, the acumen and being able to articulate it, because that truly is one of the biggest differentiators between constantly chasing the smaller deals, right, and being able to land the bigger ones. Is that's something we'll be teaching this week in a master class that we're doing specifically, is about having skills and understanding how to get that size of a client, right? And it comes down to what you said: A, learning it; B, having a support system you trust around it; and three, being able to articulate it in a way that actually validates the value that you're showing. So the fact that you were able to accomplish all three of those things with this guy, and him turn around and be like, not only are we going to do this, but I can sell this all day, right? That kind of confidence is going to be huge even moving forward for the next conversation you have. So yeah, for everybody out there, I just wanted to over explain that part, because I think that's super important.
To put a tag on that, like, I just had a meeting with this fellow this morning, and I got an even bigger compliment, because he's like, okay, this is great. I want our next meeting to be with this guy who is essentially his tech lead. And, you know, I'm building stuff inside his company. I think that's smart, even though I have my own tech team, etc. And he's just, he made it very clear. One of the last things he verbalized was, I want him to be on top of this and that, because I want you doing my marketing. Right? He just wants to know the systems work and that they're reliable. But yeah, he wants to put me in the driver's seat of that part of the machine and just take it forward. And that's a huge compliment. Somebody who knows this.
And one of the things when you guys are picking out who you want to do business with, it just comes down to like a couple things, like what do you want to make, how quickly you want to make it, and what your skill sets are, or what skill sets should be. And then ultimately go after the people that have the cash flow to be able to pay you. It's really a simple process that I think people forget, because I see people trying to sell like $10,000 stuff because they think they're worth 10,000 to people who can only afford like $300. It's just not going to be a customer match. It's going to be a long battle, and that leads to a lot of burnout. And then worse, it could change to a whole different trajectory of like changing offers, changing pricing, changing what you do just to match the customer. Rather than match the customer, go after a different one. Because there's nothing wrong with matching the customer if that's what you want from a pricing standpoint. Like with GHL sales, you can do the Fortune 5 million with local business, $500 a month, $1,000 a month things. But if you want to get the larger deals and graduate up, just have that in your trajectory. You just need to have that goal and somebody who's been there, done that to help you get there, so you don't just stumble upon it or try to guess your way through success, because that's not going to really be the fastest path. It's going to be a pretty long, grueling process that I know a lot of people are probably going through right now. Now, taking a step back, like let's just say you didn't join the GSD, like how do you think things would be for you now?
Well, I'm going to answer that question a different way, because the reason I got the deal was thanks to the training you guys have given me. If I really think back to the process, I was referred to this guy with or as a foot in the door, right? Because they have a GHL sub account. They are providing it to their users to, create added value for this organization that they're building. And having been granted access now to go into their agency account from the top down and start cleaning up the mess that it honestly is, that thing is a ghost town, right? It's got, more users than I have subscribers, but it's sitting there completely empty and unused. Nobody's logging in. We're looking at just even seeing the frequency of traffic of the users and that kind of stuff. I'm not joking about it being ghost town. So the original meeting was, can you please, Jacob, show us how to make this thing useful to our users? And I went through step by step what you guys taught me about, starting with a foot in the door offer and then a core offering. And we're giving that to their user base, of course, and then climbing up a value ladder. And it all made so much sense. That's what sold the original contract. And then the how do I market this came second.
Yeah, I love it. And just for everybody out there in the audience, like a foot in the door is just an entry point so you can build trust. It's where money exchange hands, or it's a comfortable exchange. You're getting paid to produce value, and then you're also kind of navigating and wedging out competition at the same time. Because oftentimes when we do deals and like Jacob's explaining how his deals are working, is that we get people to pay us for these audits. Once we're paid for the audit, we're under the impression that we've wiped out competition, but now we've opened up eyes and ears to show up for our conversations and our meetings. Our next meeting is the ascension model where our core comes in, our core offer, whatever that may be. If it's marketing, it could be 5, 10,000 a month, or it could be 2 to 3,000. Doesn't matter what the price is for whatever your offers are. And then once you have your core offer in, then it's about recommendations and ascension. Now you're getting sticky and sticky and sticky while remaining the authority, and you eliminate those things where scope creeps up on you. You know how a lot of agencies, a customer will ask for something, the agency freelancer or whatever size they are does the work, and then the client asks for another thing, they do the work again. And then you're constantly like reducing your revenue, increasing your time spent, and then you have this scale issue where you're always in delivery. It's because you don't have that foot in the door core ascension. And that's such a key aspect to be able to work with a small group of clients and still absolutely crush it. Have like really good profit margins, really good results, and keep the clients a heck of a lot longer because you have such an open and intimate relationship because you ultimately know their business. I mean, in some cases, better than they do. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, we had a call last week ourselves, like where we understood the business model in 2 hours. And I mean, we did our paid audit and then we're now into our core offer phase. And like the emails we're getting is like, oh my God, this is the best. Like, can't wait to talk to you on Thursday for our meeting so we can talk about next steps. So it gets people really, really excited when you follow this sort of process. It doesn't just end with the original, here's my offer to you, and then never ever try to make an offer again. Our job as marketers is to really get inside the crux of the business so we understand it so well and then just keep adding more and more value because the money they pay us they're going to make way more way longer than we will because they're the business owners. It should be the case. That's why we have a portfolio of multiple clients so we can kind of spread the wealth in case one customer sells their business, goes out of business, decides to reduce budget or cancel. You're not sitting there like just with no clients, no revenue, no nothing. You have a predictable income stream coming up, and then you're constantly building your pipeline along the way. So we're always kind of like we have our offer, we have our sales and traffic process, and then we have our delivery ascension models. Those are kind of a couple of the pillars that we teach people inside of the GSD. Now, what's like if you can identify like your favorite calls that you come on our calls on our weekly like everyday calls, like what are your top calls that are most important to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of create a little bit of background, like that certificate there is my first belt in Aikido. And, I did it for 17 years. And it's interesting because you train in your local place. And you're like, oh, I'm getting good. And then you go to Japan before or after a black belt and you see fourth, sixth, eighth degree black belts there. And then you realize how little you actually know and what my teacher meant when she handed me my black belt and said qualified as a beginner. Right. So it's funny how you kind of get that feeling on the calls, right? Like I've learned certain things from you on the Tuesday call where it's just like one-on-one sales and you can feel how like both communication skills and sales are literally kind of baked into your DNA by now. And, I'll hear you say something and then I'll get it like weeks later, right? Where I'll really start to understand it because I've been practicing enough that it makes sense. So there's a big difference between being given information and learning a skill. And so I'm learning skills every single time, especially on those Tuesday calls. I never miss the Thursday calls, even though I have my setter there, because we're learning in tandem. And then, of course, we work together outside of those calls. And then, honestly, the bottlenecks calls are way underused, in my opinion. Like the stuff that comes out of you guys when the right questions go in, it's just, I've sat down with a sheet of paper that's taken me like 3 weeks to execute on. I actually put all the stuff in place that you like dropped as information in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes.
Nice. Nice. Anything from your end, Cody?
No, I love it. I'm just soaking it all in. You've asked the right questions, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, did you notice the calls that he likes the best?
Yes. That's two in a row where we're
That's two in a row. That's just for the audience. All three calls you mentioned. I'm on all three. Cody's on one of those three.
maybe I could just retire then, I think. Maybe I don't have to do my calls. That's good. But
No, no, the bottlenecks with you, Cody, that's where
Yeah.
the 80 proof stuff comes out.
Yeah, Cody's the driving force behind the bottlenecks calls. I'm just there as a witness. So, like, let's just say somebody out there is like has been watching us for a while, or they've been on the fence, they're struggling, they need to get some help. They have all these different excuses in their mind. I've been screwed by a coach. Right now is not the right time. My wife will kill me, etc. What do you tell that person that really needs help?
You know, it's funny because I've been doing my side of it long enough now that all those objections you just raised are the ones that I hear, right? Like I literally had a consulting call with somebody last week who was like, I'm 30 grand in the hole trying to build this already. I was like, too bad you didn't bring me 26 months ago. I would have pumped out 100 by now. We build a machine that creates that money and you don't get to quit. And so really my advice is you can't afford not to, because one of the things that you haven't touched on, Rahul, is you guys are really good at serving the business in front of you, right? Like when you sign on, you don't just get handed a system and told follow the steps and don't deviate, although those are very important things. You also find out enough about who you're dealing with and what the business is to serve it. And I've seen all sorts of people grow their businesses in different directions inside the same peer group. You know, Cody's mastery is really the ad side of things. And I haven't even grown that part of my business to that point yet, where I'm going to be spending a lot more time doing that with him. Meanwhile, there's some people who start and a week later they have that part up and running, and you know things are moving forward in that direction. So you can't really go wrong with specialists who are willing to like prescribe the right thing for you instead of just cramming some general thing down your throat.
Right. So some like what we do is small group coaching. Now, some people say they want one-on-one and they're just starting out. What do you think the value is to having them in small group coaching versus one-on-one?
It's the same stuff I was talking about earlier at the dojo. Like when you train with everyone, you master techniques for different heights, for different weights, for different skill sets, body types, like you name it. And when you're in a group environment like that, you're going to look at things from different angles. And it's also really interesting how that learning cycle shifts, because some days I'll show up to the calls and like, oh, I've heard this all before. And it sounds like that for the first 15 or 20 minutes because you're helping somebody brand new get started. And then all of a sudden the script flips entirely, and something I either need to be reminded of, forgotten, or a new angle, a way of looking at things that's just like a revelation to me pops right in. And so there's so much value in that.
Yeah, because the way we set it up as a combo, it's like there's primarily group coaching and then there's some one-on-one involved as well, especially on the onboarding stages. And I kind of look at it the way we've designed it is kind of like a sport. Like me personally, soccer, for other people, hockey, for you, uh, martial arts, right? So it's like that community allows everybody to kind of create energy together and learn together. And then the question somebody else asks helps like 10 other, 20 other people because they didn't even know to ask it. And then when the one-on-one comes out, then it's actually more precise, not this blank slate of now that we have a one-on-one call, what do we do? It's more the whole foundation is laid out. Now the one-on-one precise skills come out. Kind of like for me when I played soccer, it was always group coaching, group classes, if you will, because it was a team sport. And then once you started to get your skill level up and you identified who you are, what you do specifically, then you get the one-on-ones and then you get the breakout sessions with us, because then it becomes much more like whatever, like executable, if you will. It's not just like, hey, I could have done this in the baseline program, the group coaching session. It's just that that 101 skill is really precise when you know exactly what you want to do. And that's
And
how I like to look at it.
I haven't done the math on it, but I'm willing to bet that the stuff that ends up from the calls into the private group, like if we were to sit down and log all the hours, you guys are basically giving away like a full set of university classes, like every single year, quite consistently. And that stuff really matters, especially if you actually go to class and then do your homework.
Yeah, I
That
mean, I think there's a
all
lot
of a
more on the
sudden is
line
huge.
right now than a college university, just because you can't tell a 17 or 18-year-old to say, hey, pick your next 50 years as a teenager. Now that people are a little bit more mature, they want to make money. They see the bling on social. They see people driving nice cars or nice houses or vacations or whatever. Now, whether that be true or not true, it doesn't really matter. It's just that everybody wants that freedom, that lifestyle, because I certainly don't want to do what my mom and dad did. I mean, they worked their fucking asses off till like their 60s. Like I'm in my 40s and I'm already kind of like I can coast through if I wanted to, but I choose not to. Right? So it's kind of like this different level of wealth that can totally be created. And there are deadlines, right? I mean, we don't want to be like Colonel Sanders where you come like very rich at 65. Well, that's a cool story to tell. Why not do that in your 20s or 30s or now, right? So we don't have to wait and try to see how he did it. We don't have to go door to door with chicken recipes or milkshake mixers like the McDonald's story, right? So everything can be happening right now with a backwards hat. Muhammad Ali on the wall could be wherever, whenever. I mean, Jacob's on the slopes a lot of the times when I'm talking to him. So it's all about that freedom, that lifestyle, that money that you can bring in, and then you're going to be just, I mean, enough effort, energy, desire, and drive. You will ultimately become an expert in something with the right direction.
You can build a business around the life that you want, right? Like I learned this before I met you guys because my dad is a self-employed business owner, and like
Mhm.
throughout my childhood, saw the ups and the downs, the growth of staff, the like them leaving, all that kind of stuff over the years. But the biggest lesson is the fact that he's been trying to sell his business for almost a decade now,
Mhm.
right? And like if you don't have the systems and the SOPs and all those sorts of things, you are kind of stuck inside that business. And then the ability to choose your schedule and have what I call a life by design. Like I hit 42 days on my ski pass again this year. It's not that I don't work. I work really hard on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I ski Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then work some when the slopes are closed. And it's the ability to do that and to choose your schedule as well. The
Awesome.
last thing I'll say is a little
Always,
response is
yeah.
your backgrounds as well. Because I read a case study the other day, and it was just on a very simple business model, but this guy has built two fake jet interiors, private jet interiors in a hangar in LA. And he rents them up by the hour. And the guy who did this case study was just like, this is how much these sheets of gyprock and 2x4s are making per hour.
Uh,
And so that
knows.
background behind you is a big, it changes the game for me too, because you guys are actually doing this work. That's
Yeah.
your offer.
Yeah, we don't have fake chats or sets or anything. At least Cody has a nice background. Mine's always been eh. But going back to that last question, like what do you tell somebody who's really on the fence, who's stuck, they've got every excuse in the book as to why things don't work, why timing's wrong, wife won't agree, etc. What do you tell that person about the GSD?
So I think you are given a choice and like do it if you're going to leave those excuses behind, right? If you're not going to leave those excuses behind, then wait until you're ready to commit 100%. But when you walk through the doors, when you join this community, when like you show up on the calls that I'm on as well, you just have to put your time in, focus on this, and not do anything else or be distracted by it. If I've been held back by anything in the last 2.5 years, it was a couple times where I stopped paying attention to the steps that you guys had given me. And like a week off, 10 days off, like you feel it 30 days later. It'll put in a certain amount of drag. And so again, like commit, but commit 100%. But when you do, you won't be sorry.
Awesome. Anything to end it with, Cody?
No, I think the biggest takeaway for a lot of people, though, there should be one of the last things he said, which is build and act as if, right? Figure out what it is you actually want. Don't draw a straight line between more money and more freedom and more clients, because it doesn't always work that way. So figure out what you want and then commit to getting it, because that's how you make that happen. So no, other than that, just thank you as always, Jacob, and everybody out there. Drop some love for Jacob. Again, as always, we do not pay anybody to do this stuff. They're just taking their time out of their days to help share with you so that you guys can get help. So drop some love, give the man a follow, put your questions down below if you have any, and hopefully you took some notes and you can take some good stuff away from this.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for your time and everything you guys have given me in the last